I love your funny face, your sunny, funny face. Though you're no Gloria Swanson, for worlds I'd not replace that sunny, funny face.
When I was 5, there was a Christmas party and there was a little lull in the performance and I said, oh, I can do something. So they stood me on a chair and the tagline is quite funny and everybody fell to the ground. And I thought, isn't that wonderful? And it was the first time I knew how lovely it was to make people laugh. And of course I've been trying to do it ever since.
Sandra, darling, do get Mrs. Boswell a glass. Or a vase.
Brilliant, brilliant timing. But you see, that's really what comedy's all about. Yes, somebody can write the lines for you, or you can make them up. But they've got to be timed.
Do you think it suits me?
Oh, yes, it does, madam. And those artificial cherries are very youth-making. Don't you think so, Miss Brown?
Oh, yes, Mrs. Slocombe. Takes years off her.
Thank you, Miss Brown. And that green goes so well with madam's eyes.
I've got brown eyes.
That's what I mean. The sort of brown that goes so well with green. It gives you a sort of film star look.
Oh.
Marlene Dietrich.
But she's in her 70s.
Well, she wasn't when she was about 40.
Do you think I should wear the brim up or down?
Down.
Mollie is an absolutely 100% total professional. She was wonderful to work with. If, I suppose, out of all of us, she was the one that knew her lines.
Well, you could trust Mollie. She always knew her lines, and she was pleasant. You see, in those days, it's not so much now because they won't employ them, because it costs money to keep reshooting things and putting up with tantrums. But Mollie was very popular because she was just nice. I mean, I know it's a rather cliché thing to say, but she gave no trouble. She was, if you were going to take some publicity photographs, she was in there. She didn't mind showing her knickers. She didn't mind anything.
My dear girl, I could be wined and dined every night if I wanted to. If it wasn't for that awful wrestling match in the car when you got home. Those roving hands and the sloppy kisses and the fight to get the door open and escape.
Did many of them get away, Mr. Slocombe?
I always wanted to do comedy. I'd had quite a lot of experience with doing small things with the local audiences, which is all to the good, really, because you get some idea of timing and audience reaction. In fact, I've been doing it so long that I don't really know whether I was born doing it or whether I learned it. It sort of perhaps seeped in.
Here, Mum, it's a lot bigger than ours. Shut up. You don't mean to say you've gone and bought this?
Yes, from Sir Ralph Springer here.
Oh, how do you do, Sir Ralph?
How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. I could spit.
When I came to the BBC, one of the first shows I did there was Hugh and I, with Hugh Lloyd and Terry Scott.
How many orbits are you going to make?
I beg your pardon.
And I brought Mollie Doug. She must have been so marvellous. And so I brought her down to London so she could do it. And she was super in that. She played one of the stop-in next-door neighbours who was always popping in and saying, you know, I can hear your radio is too loud and that sort of thing, you know, with Wallace Eaton.
You're asking for it!
Oh, come on, Arthur. We want to make an early start. I mean, we're going down to the coast. Well, how nice. Brighton? Oh, nothing so common. Hove.
Sandra, darling.
Oh, hello, Mummy.
I've come to be nice to your friend.
I was very lucky with the Live Birds. It really came about because I'd been in Hugh and I.
Are you on your way home from a fancy dress party? Or has something new cropped up in the fashion world?
And when the Liverbirds went into the second series, Carla Lane felt that she'd like a little help, and so John Chapman went to just, well, guide her along a little bit. And the moment he saw Mrs. Hutchinson, he said, oh, I know who can play this. So, in a sense, I was perhaps becoming typecast, but I didn't care. And, of course, Mrs. Hutchinson was great joy, all those hats.
What Mollie brought, you didn't have to write anything really terribly funny for Mollie. She just made it funny. And then when you did write something funny, she just made it hilarious.
Mrs. Hutchinson is Hyacinth Bouquet before her time. I mean, the thing that's so delightful about her is her tremendous snobbery, but her tremendous vulgarity. And I think Mollie Sugden does what no one else has ever done apart from Kenneth Williams, which is go from ultra, ultra posh to completely, completely lowbrow in one sentence.
I saw your advert in the Echo for a new flatmate. Beautifully worded, darling, so like you.
Thank you, Mummy.
Have you got anybody yet?
No.
Oh, just a moment, darling. Henry! There's something burning in the kitchen! Oh.
I suppose what made the character, in a way, was the fact that we had a very obvious relationship of a mother and daughter who did love each other. But as with many mothers and daughters, it was totally, totally at odds with each other. And I was very, very much the one who did exactly what I was told. And, of course, getting a flat away from it in the Liverbirds was just the most marvellous thing, because I thought I could live my own life. But there would be a ding-ding at the doorbell, and in would come Mollie in full sail.
Oh, are you just leaving, young man?
Yes.
My daughter's still playing hard to get, is she?
Your daughter, Mrs. Hutchinson, is cruel, heartless, and frigid.
I know. Exciting, isn't it?
She has such fantastic comic timing, and she encapsulates all that is worst and most risible about the British class system, about, you know, lower middle, upper working class aspirations towards gentility, which halfway through a sentence let you down and plummet you straight back right down into your origins, the ones you're struggling so desperately to cover up.
I wear large, expensive hats. And it would be very nice if I could enter this flat without hearing, mind your rat on the door, Mrs. Hutch. And here she comes, the galloping garden.
She had a special face on her when she was wearing one of her big hats. She sort of matched her face with the amazement of her hat. And the bigger her hat, the more pursed she became, you know. And she knew exactly when to do it. Also, you didn't have to give her lines. You just have to give her a look.
Mollie has got this strength of comedy running right through her like a seam. Of course she could do drama. I think anybody who can be good at comedy can do drama. It doesn't always work the other way around.
Oh, Harriet, my love, leave your bonnet alone.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Goddard.
You look very well, my child.
Thank you, Mrs. Goddard.
Yes, where's that plumber? He's inside. Well, he better come out again, drenching him like that, right in the middle of doing my lavatory. And my husband expected home any minute. Oh, he hasn't got diarrhea, has he? Oh, and I don't want none of your sort.
I know how good she can be other than comedy, and she really is very, very good. She's vulnerable and allows herself to be. It doesn't matter what happens, she'll do it and she'll go along. She never really watches herself when she's performing or listens to herself, so it doesn't interfere with her timing.
We are not in England yet. Queen Catherine he dearly loved, and she was a good rider.
She invariably wore a veil against the weather, and no doubt the reason why she was eventually divorced was that not even that preserved her complexion.
I think it would be in the early 70s, I was a very sort of young barmaid, watching and learning on the sidelines, as it were. And watching Mollie work, and I have to say work beautifully, with the late Doris Speed. Mollie was Nellie Harvey from The Flying Swan, if you remember. And there was Annie Walker of The Rover's Return. And the pair of them were just magic together.
And so say all of us.
Oh, they don't know they're born in Wilmslow, do they?
No, dear. Well, Nellie, thank you for coming, and I'll ring you if anyone turns me down.
Oh, by the way, Annie, and if I do come, will it be all right to wear this?
I beg your pardon, dear?
Me coat. Me Persian lamb.
Do you know, Nellie, ever since you came through that door, I've been thinking how well they cleaned your old fur fabric. Very nice.
Only with you not having any furs and me wearing this, well, I wouldn't want people to think...
Of course not, dear. Now, Nellie, you must never get an inferiority complex. We have our personalities, dear, and we're not going to be overshadowed by a few pastel minks.
But I honestly don't think you can teach comedy timing. I think it's something people are either born with or they're not. And Mollie was obviously born with it. It's a gift. And never more beautifully portrayed than in the scenes where the two landladies would lock horns, be at war with each other. There was this marvellous one-upmanship.
You're not my friend. You're just a condescending bitch. And when you're not condescending, you're luring me husband.
I did not lure your husband.
I think you did. But I'll tell you something. I don't care, because it gives me the satisfaction of dragging your name through the mud, and I've waited for a chance like that for years. I'll have your name all over the papers, because I'm not just suing him for divorce. I'm suing you for enticement. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Madam Mayoress.
I remember working with Doris Speed. She was a very funny lady. And considering that she was very well known and I was just a person who came in now and again, she was very kind to me. The nice thing for me was that I wasn't in it all the time. I just sort of popped in a couple of times a year so that I could do other things and not really become too associated with the soap.
You must be the rudest, nastiest person I've ever had the misfortune to encounter. There's only one thing I've got to say to you.
And what's that?
Would you like to come and have a drink?
Well, since you twisted me arm. Old cow, she's a right pain in the... Do you know, Angie, sometimes at night when I can't sleep, I lie in bed fairly longing to pick up the phone, dial her number and shout a rude word.
What rude word?
Titties.
I'd been doing That's My Boy for Yorkshire Television, and then they said, no, we can't do any more, but will you write something else for Mollie? And that was when they got the idea that it would be quite nice to write something for both of us, and that's how my husband and I came about.
Well, I can't be for it, can I, or against it, till I know what it is. What is it?
Paper boy.
Well, I thought it'd get me out of the house.
It will, in all weathers. And you with your chest. Is this his number?
Whose?
The newsagent's.
Yes.
Right, well, ring him up and do it now while I get the supper.
But what'll I tell him?
Tell him it'll interfere with your homework and your mummy won't let you.
Ground floor perfumery, stationery and leather goods, wigs and haberdashery, kitchenware and food going up.
Well, in Coronation Street, I was actually there and I could work with Mollie and see Mollie. But I could watch Are You Being Served as a viewer. And Mollie would come on, and she was outrageous.
I'm in the least sign of danger, and my pussy's hair stands on end laughing. Well, Captain Peacock, it looks as though we're going to be able to trip the Tightland festive. In fact, that's how I met my husband during an air raid. The bombs were raining down, and I saw his face lit by an incendiary. He threw me on my face and said, "Look out, here comes a big one."
I'm 21 with blue eyes, long blonde hair, a tiny waist and
Slocombe.
Goodbye, Ethel.
An awful lot of the laughter, of course, is in the artist's reaction. That if Mollie gets insulted, because she was a master at it, you cut straight away to Mollie's face to take her reaction to it, and that's where the laugh is, really.
I never thought that at my time of life I'd be reduced to the bargain basement.
You keep on eating those cream cakes, nobody will know you've been reduced.
Mollie, as Mrs. Slocombe, when she was getting cheek from Mr. Lucas or Mr. Spooner, has a look that can freeze an ox at 100 yards. And I've been practising it because now I'm Pauline Fowler. I must admit I have used it a few times myself. But no, she was absolutely brilliant. I think it's one of the eyes used to close slightly, and that was it, you know, and you knew it was... She didn't have to say anything, you know.
Now, I tell you, she's a very beautiful lady. Her age?
30-ish.
Look, it's a senior position, Mrs. Slocombe. They want someone older than that.
Well, tell a lie and say 40-ish.
What? Oh, they want someone who's 50-ish.
Well, go on, now's your chance to tell the truth.
Ladies in comedy should work like a man, I think. And all that stems from a great lady in comedy, Lucille Ball. She didn't mind getting a custard pie in her face or falling on her bum and doing all that. And neither does Mollie, you see.
1, 2, 3, 4.
To be gentle.
I was gentle, I just went like that.
You did not, you went like that.
I did not go like that.
Well, next time I shall go like that.
In that case, I shall go like that.
Two can play at that game.
Peacock.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4.
One of the great strengths of Mollie was that she was marvellously game, and she had no sort of false dignity. So whatever we devised, she would throw herself into it, you know, and she didn't mind the fact that she was supposed to have a big bum, and she hadn't actually. You know, she was being roundly insulted virtually all the time, but she was terribly game, and she was a marvellous fun.
Mollie will do anything, you see. I think this is why she's so splendid. She's never refused. She's never said, I can't do that. I can't be thrown over somebody's shoulder. I'm not falling downstairs. She's never, ever said that. She was just wonderful at everything because she'd get in there and do it.
For heaven's sake, give me the camera. Honestly, you're weak as wool.
Whatever you do, don't look down.
I'm more worried about people looking up. Right, hang on to me ankles. Now, Ian, what was that slogan again?
Grace.
Ah! Oh,
I think the fact that we all got on so well together and we thoroughly enjoyed what we were doing. And I mean, Mollie, bless her, is such a good sport. When you look at some of the things they made her do and some of the outfits.
Would you like to tell the judges your name and what planet you come from?
that journey up the stairs, I'm puffed out.
There's a chair for you, Mrs. Slocombe.
Oh, thank you so much, Miss Brown. Oh.
I never minded. In fact, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? I mean, some of the costumes were amazing, but, oh, no, it never worried me at all. In fact, I found I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, I don't think I can stand much more.
Come Back Mrs. Knorr was an idea that the BBC had because they thought they weren't going to do any more Are You Being Served, and they didn't really want me to go anywhere else, so they signed me up, they put me under contract. But maybe things that are commissioned are never quite as spontaneous. However, whatever the reason was, they only did the 6.
After the Are You Being Served, I was very keen to do something else, particularly with Mollie, and so we devised this show called Come Back Mrs. Noah.
What is your favourite sport?
Oh, the usual girlish pastimes.
According to your press handout, it's all in wrestling.
And we did some outrageous things with her in that particular programme. It didn't run very long because I wasn't there to sort of push it at a vital time, and so it died a natural death after 8 programmes.
Right, all we have to do now is to turn it on. Twist it on! Put it down into the camera! Ooh! Foul! Throw that referee to the Well, you might have waited for the bell.
You see, I still get letters from America saying, when are you going to do some more Come Back Mrs. Snow? And I think, for heaven's sake, that was about 20 years ago. We only did 6. You can't explain, well, we won't be doing any more because I'm rather old to be flying around on a Kirby wire.
Oh, thank heaven for that. Now, can I go to the little girl's room?
She's weightless. Keep your belts on, everybody.
All over myself.
Release it in reverse direction to that in which you wish to travel.
You are?
Point your nozzle the other way, woman.
It's always very surprising to me that anything I'm in is popular. It's lovely, but I'm not I don't assess things terribly well. I just go ahead happily and do them, and then it comes as a lovely surprise to find that sometimes they're popular.
Well, Grace and Favour came as a surprise, yes. Well, a sort of half surprise, because, you see, although we hadn't worked together for 5 years in between, we'd met, you know. We weren't total strangers and saying, oh, hello, where have you been for 5 years? Because we'd seen each other.
We were the same people with exactly the same pecking order, but we were doing it in a different environment. And, of course, you see, we'd never been on location before, because it was always the shop or the boardroom or Mr. Rumble's office. So when we went on location in Gloucestershire, it was wonderful.
Now then, come on. Come on. Do you know, it's right putting me off bacon.
And, of course, milking a cow was something I'd never done before. But it was all part of life's rich pattern.
Oh, I can't stand this any longer. Miss Brahms, hold me hat and pass me that stool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Humphreys, bucket.
Mrs. Slocombe, I had no idea you could do that sort of thing.
Well, it's a knack, you know. I was evacuated during the war.
Wait a minute. I know you. We was on a farm together in Tiverton.
That's right, Mrs. Slocombe. You was evacuated when you were a little child.
Little child? She was a great big walloping land girl.
Well, I was a land girl later on.
You're Rachel Yiddle. I was a young rat catcher. Ho, ho, ho. Many's the time we rolled around in the hayloft when I was laying the bait.
You're quite mistaken, Morris. Whatever your name was.
She knows precisely what you require of her. You never have to go to the producer and say, she hasn't got that right. I've never had to say that about Mollie, not on any occasion. Throughout 10 years and over 100 scripts, I don't remember having to say to the producer, she hasn't quite got that right. And, you know, that is some accolade.
We did an update of the AYBS, and she was quite poorly when we did that. She was on quite heavy medication. She wasn't well at all. Never lost her sense of fun. Never missed a cue.
Why should I worry? I've still got the menopause to look forward to.
Well, of course, that's up to you. I never allowed it myself. You see, Sandra, I've always tried to be refined.
Yes, you have, Mummy.
Even when I was being mugged. Did I scream and shout? Now, did I?
No, Mummy, you didn't.
I bet his round bits are still tingling.
And that's Mollie for you. She's got those basic ingredients which all the really funny people have got. They've got the bedded technique. They'd never let you down. I don't think Mollie ever forgot a line in the 11 years I worked with her. I don't think she ever did. Never lost a laugh, never lost a line.
Did you hear that? It was your daughter. She says she's tired of being nice. Well, I suppose she had to catch up with you sometime. I mean, you were never nice. You were born not nice. A fortnight late you were, and even then you didn't have the decency to come the right way. Feet first, kicking the world in the teeth. You demolished 4 cots before you were a year old. Oh, my daughter. My own daughter talking to me like that. It'll be a long time before I phone her again.
Hello?
I'm just saying it'll be a long time before I phone her again.
Comedy is actually a very serious business. Maybe that sounds silly, but the more work that's done before, the better, the easier, and the funnier it comes across to the viewer.
Oh, obviously, Are You Being Served was probably the high because it was so popular and because it was so good for me. But I always remember something that Jimmy Clitheroe said, because I played his mother on television, not on radio. A lot of people think I did it on radio. That was Patricia Burke. But I played his mother on television. And I remember Jimmy once saying, it's better than working. And it is.